So the heat is on because this is a new asset class. Bitcoin is a new asset class. It's a monetary system to be sure, but it also represents a new asset class. And what that means in our world is that as a fiduciary, someone looking after portfolios for people, a fiduciary has to consider a new asset class because of the low correlation with other assets in terms of returns and risk.
비트코인은 기존 전통 자산들과는 상관관계가 낮은 새로운 혁신 자산 클래스이기 때문에 향후 모든 금융기관들이 포트폴리오에 비트코인 배분을 고려할 것이라고 주장하고 있는 인물은 월가의 거물이자 크립토 시장에 지대한 영향을 끼치고 있는 아크 인베스트먼트의 CEO이자 돈나무 언니로 유명한 캐시 우드입니다. 현재 아크는 비트코인 현물 ETF를 절찬 판매 중이며 비트코인 현상에 대해 그 어떤 기관들보다 관심이 많고 심도 있는 연구와 혁신을 추진하고 있는 기관인 만큼 아크의 CEO 캐시 우드가 생각하는 향후 비트코인이라는 혁신 자산의 미래와 시장 전망에 대한 그녀의 디테일한 인사이트에 대해서 함께 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
On stage, none other than Cathie Wood, the CEO of Ark Invest, a very early and big-time Bitcoin investor. Welcome to the stage, Peter and Cathie.
We are only at the end of May, and it's been a crazy year already in the world of Bitcoin and crypto. It's been a crazy year already. How have you taken it all in?
Have I taken it all in? It's in terms of what's happened to us. It's been heaven sent. It's been we've earned it though. We've been doing research on Bitcoin since I founded Ark in 2014. Which is a lot longer than any of the other competitors have, so we've been very gratified.
And back then, people thought you might have been a bit crazy. What are you doing with this crazy digital Bitcoin thing?
Yes, so in 2014, we wrote our first blog on Bitcoin, which didn't get any attention. And then in 2015, we wrote our first white paper on Bitcoin with Art Laffer. So Art Laffer is a monetary scholar, and Art read the paper, got through it, and said, whoa, this is what I have been waiting for since the US closed the gold window in 1971. This is private money. This is going to be big. And I said, okay, how big? Yes, the big idea. How big, Art? He said, how big is the US monetary base? Back then it was $4.5 trillion, now it's $7.5 trillion. So it's a big idea.
Right, so I think the big topic of the year so far has been ETFs.
Yes.
We should start with that.
Yes.
Finally, the SEC allowed for a Bitcoin ETF after pressure from the lawsuit brought.
Yeah, they were dragged kicking and screaming into it. Yes.
Gensler was reluctant.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that was?
Well, we've been trying to figure out, was this because Gensler had aspirations to be Treasury Secretary, and the Treasury Secretary really is, guards the dollar? That was the only explanation after he had been at MIT teaching about Bitcoin, seemingly with enthusiasm. So I thought it was that. It could be, I'm sure it was politics. There was a contingent of the Democrat Party that was anti-crypto, no question about it. But what's very gratifying about FIT 21, the act that the House passed last week, is that was bipartisan, 76 Democrats. So this is an election year issue. And I think Coinbase and all of the others and we've participated as well in pooling together funds to help Washington understand, how important a movement this is. I think that's working.
Yeah, we'll come back to the regulatory side because there's a lot to cover there as well.
Yes.
So now we have the ETFs. How has that changed the game in terms of the people you talk to, the people you advise, the people who come to you for investment?
Well, a lot of people found Ark because of Bitcoin in our early days. And so they were in the retail space, individuals who were just buying for their own accounts. What has changed is we are now talking to the major platforms. So we call them wirehouses, so Morgan Stanley, UBS, Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo. And they are in deep due diligence, like, okay, what is this? We have to have a point of view now. They actually have an index against which they're going to be judged, and that's an ETF, right? Now Bitcoin is part of how they're going to be graded. And while no major platform has yet put any of the spot Bitcoin ETFs on its platform yet, we think that's coming. We can tell from the kinds of questions they're asking. They're asking deep questions, not only about Bitcoin itself, but about infrastructure, ops, risks, and so the heat is on because this is a new asset class. Bitcoin is a new asset class. It's a monetary system to be sure, but it also represents a new asset class. And what that means in our world is that as a fiduciary, someone looking after portfolios for people, a fiduciary has to consider a new asset class because of the low correlation with other assets in terms of returns and risk. And so if you add Bitcoin to an existing portfolio, if that is right, and this is low correlation asset, what that means is over time, returns per unit of risk will go up. So if one platform has Bitcoin and offers that opportunity of diversification and higher risk-adjusted returns, and another doesn't, then they're going to have a problem if this one's right.
And so we now have Ethereum ETFs arrive, and
shocking,
disgrace, and it, but there didn't seem to be such friction in the Ethereum ETF being approved as there was with the Bitcoin ETF. What is your read on that?
Oh, the read was it was not going to be approved. It was absolutely not going to be approved. So what happened? If it were to have been approved the regular way, we would have been getting questions, meaning from the SEC, and no one was getting questions from the SEC beforehand. So that was an indication, no go, just, we'll have to try it again. What happened in 1 week's time, and I truly believe this was one of the things that happened, is there was sentiment evolving around this FIT 21 Act in the House that, wait a minute, this thing is gaining momentum on both sides of the aisle. And wow, this could be an election year issue. This is an election year. So the administration, I think, basically said, oh, and the other thing that happened was former President Trump has become much more cozy with Bitcoin, crypto generally, and that week said he would accept campaign donations in crypto. So again, this idea, this is an election year issue. And then I cannot tell you, I was on the phone with our COO, and he was like, he screamed when he saw this come across, like, what? It was within 3 days of being denied. We were sure. We were sure it was going to be denied. And I think it was this campaign election year. You've got the legislative branch. You've got former President Trump. You had, rapid fire, and boom, here we are.
Do you think we're at risk now of getting a number, maybe hundreds of shitcoin ETFs, which will confuse the market for investors? Because selling the concept of Bitcoin is difficult in its own when you have to then explain all these other meaningless cryptocurrencies. Will that make your job a lot harder?
I don't think so. I don't think the wirehouses will accept. There could be two, or these two, maybe Solana, maybe. But I don't think that the wirehouse platforms will want to do more than the majors, right? Just to give their clients exposure to this new asset class. What I do think is, and we have some of these, that private funds are going to sift through the thousands out there and probably find, 20 or 30. But you're going to have to do a tremendous amount of due diligence because, as you say, there's a lot of nonsense going on out there.
The importance of avoiding the risk of centralization. I think at the moment there's one risk, which is minus centralization. And so I think that's something important to do. How do we ensure that these standards are not lost? Because it's a very easy message to explain when the community is small. When it's billions of people worldwide, how do we ensure we maintain these principles?
Yes, I think half of the solution is understanding the problem. So we are going to be, we are in the process of, and David here is I think, leading this, of creating a decentralization index and a monitoring for centralization versus decentralization. So actually putting out there, look, self-custody is really important, critically important, but access is also important. So we're dealing with a balance here. And self-custody is hard, and some people don't want to deal with it, and so forth. So this centralization index, I think, we're going to start, I think it's in the fourth quarter of this year, we're going to be putting it out there and measuring it. And, we'll have red and green if there's anything, moving toward, if centralization is moving toward the red zone, we're going to be all over it. And I know the Bitcoin community is going to be all over it. And, again, half the solution is understanding the problem.
Love this. Very, very cool initiative. Right, we're running out of time. What particular headwinds do you think we should be keeping an eye on right now? You obviously, you've got a very good research department at Ark. What are the things that people here should be thinking about, concerned about, that's coming our way in the future?
Goodness, so much has happened. I mean, I used to, in 2022, FTX was the implosion, and then the political backlash was the biggest fear. I'm amazed that we got through that so quickly, and that's what gives me so much confidence. So, I hate to say that it's not like there aren't any risks. Regulatory here is still a big risk. It just is. It is on Bitcoin, it is on AI, it is generally, we're going to, in this country, lose our edge. We're going to lose a lot of talent to the rest of the world. And so that's one of our biggest concerns, but that's for innovation broadly because our economy has become much too regulated.
Okay, last question. It's a big one. Bitcoin or Ethereum?
In terms of what?
What would you invest in if you only invested in one?
Oh, Bitcoin, hands down. No question. No question about it. It is, because I don't have to tell you this, it is a global monetary system. It is a technology, and it is a new asset class. Those are three big ideas in one, and nothing else in the crypto world comes close.